I'm going to have an inbox preview look at this kit here, which is the Trumpeter Models 135th scale Russian T-72B3M main battle tank. The kit number is 09510. There's many different T-72s out there, in particular the B3s, and they're kind of confusing and hard to understand. Like, this one is a B3M, and actually after looking at it, this seems to be the most advanced T-72B3M of all the kits that are out there right now. It's hard understanding them because the T-72s, like the armor packages they have on them doesn't necessarily mean that they're more advanced than others. If you look at this vehicle here, you'll notice that it has the this little all aspect sight up here, which is like a panoramic sight, and I believe it's a hunter killer sight, like which pretty much all like the best main battle tanks have, where like the commander can take over from the gunner and search for targets while the gunner is working. It's a really modern system that every tank should have, but some of the older generation T-72s don't seem to have that. And also it's a little deceiving, this box art, because it also has the upgraded barrel where there's a reflector on the end of the barrel, and you either can't see it from this angle, or it might just not be on this picture for some reason. This tank also, I don't know what it really is, because it seems to be painted up for the tank biathlon, and it has the like the little indicator and the flag from the tank biathlon, but I don't know why they would be using the all aspect sight on one of those tanks. And it doesn't seem to be an Army Forum tank because it's not written on the side here, so I don't know what the deal is with this tank, or if it's just like photoshopped in some way that like to look like I don't know, to look like a biathlon tank, or a biathlon tank to I have no idea how they've done this photo. I've never seen this race. If if somebody knows if this was actually used in the biathlon, you can comment, but we'll have a look at the box first, and we can see our subjects here. Again, this would be like your biathlon colors, and on the side you can see how there's a tiny little reflector on the end of the barrel, which you can't see on the main picture. And then we have some other colors here, and like just a standard production vehicle, and on the side are normal stuff here. And then they give us just a real short blurb here, the information. So I guess we do have some biathlon markings here. One thing I should mention though, Trumpeter does all the different variations of T-72B3. Like, they do an early one which was it was like before it became the B3, and then they have a B3, B3M. They have the current one which has like the overhead protection on it. I assume in the future they'll have one where it has a little bit the upgraded. They upgraded the urban armor package, like what we see now coming off the assembly line. Like, they've upgraded their urban armor package, and that's the only one we don't have. But Trumpeter does all of them. And then like there's other companies like Mang and that who do some of the variations, but Trumpeter does all of them except for, like I said, the very current production vehicle, which only probably came out in the last 2 years or so. So we'll have a look at our instructions and paint guide. They give us our little pamphlet here. Yeah, so it tells us we get our little panoramic detailed sight here, and just a typical photo etch on here. It doesn't really mention, I can't see, it doesn't really say anything about the reflector on the barrel. And then we'll flip over just so you can see some of the others. The MiG-31, and then a 1/16 scale Abrams, which would be just absolutely massive, and the M270. So some interesting subjects on here. I think I'll show the paint guide first. It doesn't seem to really give us information. It shows us where to put, see the markings for the Army Forum, like for demonstration vehicles, should be in these spaces, but like when it showed it on the box, it didn't show any of these markings. So I don't know what is up with the picture on the box. It's not a big deal or anything. This is another vehicle that's painted up, I guess, for Army Forum. Like they paint them in various colors, like red, green, blue, and I can't remember what the other one is. Red, green, blue, and it might be yellow. I'm not sure. And on this side, we have your like. I think again. I think this is an Army like the tank biathlon colors with the green. And then we have like a production vehicle here, which is just an overall green. So you've got basically like 3 options from the Army games. This one doesn't tell you to put any markings on the side. I should say one thing that distinguishes, well maybe I'll show it when I go through the instructions. So here's our instruction sheet here. 36 steps, so this one's quite involved. Which the Trumpeter ones are. They're always pretty parts heavy. You can see our various sprues here. And then they go through all of the crossover parts that are going to be unused, which is about half of the parts we're getting, I guess, are going to be unused. So here's our, basically our suspension going together the typical way. And it looks like we've got the option again for the like the radiation cladding, or I guess without it. And then we go nothing special here, just our typical way of doing it. And the I might make a video in the future on how to there's a very simple way of how to bend these little brackets, these little braces. At first I thought I didn't like it, but then once I learned how to bend them properly, they're actually very easy to do, and they look really nice when finished. And you just use a paper clip and roll the piece, the photo etch piece, around a paper clip. I'm going to probably do a video on that in the future, because every one of these Trumpeter kits you always have to do that. And more fender work. And here's our tracks. So we've got multi-part tracks. Should be really good to build these up the way they've done them there. And this is one thing I don't like on, I think, just about every single T-72 is these little brackets for the fuel tanks, because they really don't use the fuel tanks unless you're going down, like you're ferrying the tank from one area to another. But in combat and that, you don't necessarily see the fuel tanks. And these pieces are like bolted on to this little bracket that's on the bottom here. This hook part is actually bolted onto it, and then they sort of sweep to the side when you want them out of the way. And there's really no way of sweeping them to the side. If you want them off, you can't really do it. You have to just cut them off and sort of like modify them yourself. I wish we had the option of both. Someday maybe somebody will do that. And this one has the unique sort of like the T90 when they came out, where the log is on the side of the the side of the fender, I guess I would call it. And more pieces here. And the rear pieces, and it shows you how to do your final tubing, how you should set them up if you're going to put the fuel tanks on there. Our cables and how to tie them down. This isn't the most clear instructions on how to tie your cables down, because they should be resting on, there's little hooks and things there that they should be resting on. And here's our turret. And our various layouts for the armor. And the sight, the hunter killer sight, like it shows us how to put that on there. A little confusing again how you're gonna, that tail, how it's gonna fit on there. And more aspects here. And here's the barrel with the reflector on it. And our commander's gun station there. Various bins. I will go back to I wanted to show the exhaust, which is a way you can tell the B3M from a B3, which is this exhaust here. If you notice how the B3M has this choked exhaust, like on a standard B3 or standard T72, this exhaust goes about the whole length of this little like box here, and on the B3M it'll be choked like that because it's a much more powerful engine and exhaust in this variant. So that's one way you can tell if it's like an upgraded advanced tank. It'll have the little choked exhaust. Even the T90s are like this. A T90, you have your standard exhaust, and then a T90A will have the like choked exhaust like that. It's just something I thought I would mention. So the instructions look all right. I mean, they look like typical Trumpeter instructions. And then we get our various pieces here. So we've got our, I guess this plate will be modified for, it must be like a crossover sprue. So we have our armor plate here, which is really nice looking, the detail on it. And there's really not much more. Here's our headlight guards, which they're not broken or anything. So they're nice. We have rear plate here. You can see the detail they've done on it. I'm not sure if this plate is different for this variation or not. And then we have the typical, which is pretty much the same, I think, in all their T72. I think B1 might refer to even, no, it's the sprue B1. So there's their fuel tanks. Pretty typical crossover part, and the armor plates that go on the front. And you can see how detailed they are all the way. And our wheels here. So we've got really nice wheels. Trumpeter usually, I'm pretty confident in their wheels, getting them correct, and I say the ribbing on them and stuff. Sometimes you don't get like the numbers and letters on them, but I mean, they're good enough. And on the inside they look like this, but you're never going to see it. And we've got again a different armored plate here, whichever's correct for this vehicle, I'm not sure. And here's our, nice to have the little open, like the little footholds here, really nice. And there's some like you can see like waviness and that to the rubber to make it look just sort of used, which is a real nice touch. And like this plate here, some of them are different. I'm not sure which goes to which tank. So, and on the inside again, they have that chamfered edge, so you don't have to sand it down. Then we have a really thick, heavy armored plate here. I'm not sure what this is for. It's like a T90 plate or something like that, which is very, very heavily armored. It's nice enough, but we're not going to be using it. It's probably just the sprockets that we're going to use off of this piece. And here's the bins, the storage bins and fuel tanks, oil tanks and that. I've criticized this in the past. I don't like how they've capped off the rear end. It's hard to clean these up, but kind of universal on the Trumpeter T-72s. You can see there's a ton of parts, and like there's so many crossover parts, like the spade here for digging it, like there's multiple different types. Like you can see the spades are actually different, so you really have to check and make sure you're doing the correct one. And if you know the vehicle you're doing, check the vehicle you're doing before you look at the instructions to make sure you're putting the right one on for that particular vehicle. So this looks like this is probably your upgrade parts, because it's got the like they no longer carry that anti-radiation cladding, and so they have that there. And then here's your upgraded exhaust in the muzzle, again the upgraded muzzle, and the machine gun here, which is, yeah, so it's open muzzle machine gun, really nice. So I think, I'm not sure if the earlier ones they had open muzzles or not. And then just your ammunition boxes and various other pieces here. And then we have more crossover wheels with our armor plating and the smoke dischargers here. So nothing too spectacular about these. But another thing is, again, check your vehicle and make sure you have the right, the vehicle specifically, don't necessarily go by the instructions. But if you don't have pictures of the actual vehicle, then obviously go by the instructions. Here's the barrel. I wish they wouldn't do this way. I wish they would have split it the other way, like some other companies do. But it can easily be replaced. I'm not sure if I would replace this one. We'll have to see. But everything looks pretty nice. It's just the way that it's been broken up. You can see the detail for the clamps and everything is there. It's just that it's just the way it's been broken up. Then we have our like fenders here, and this would be the one we have to put the anti-radiation stuff there with the little photo etch pieces, which I don't like. And they're detailed underneath too. We still have more, but I think there's a bunch of bags of tracks. So here's more pieces, and then you've got pieces like there's a spotlight here, and you've got a few different ones of these commanders, like the protection for the commander there, and various hatches. And that would be the spotlight, and again another spade, so you're not going to need 3 of them. So everything looks, pretty nice, pretty typical. And here is our turret. You can see the amount of detail on all the welds and everything, and the casting checked, like the texture is amazing. Because you can leave off some of those plates if you want. It's not going to affect it if you had a few of those off and then plug the holes or something, which is pretty decent. There's a little bits of cleanup here, like little tiny seam lines in there. Should be nothing to get those out. I don't know if this turret is proprietary to just this kit or not, because this is where you would mount that sight, would be right on here. And we'll go into our lower, which I always talk about the lowers, how great they are. I mean, there's nothing more you can say. They're just excellent the way they've done their lowers. They're super detailed. And look at our gun manlets, a couple different ones. I guess for the different gun positions. And they look alright. They don't seem to be, this one might be a little warped, I'm not sure. And we have the sight itself is, it's got its own sprue here. So that's pretty nice the way they've done that. They just threw it in there. Like, you'll see this sight on multiple different vehicles. It's not like an exclusive thing to the T-72B3M. Okay, so this must be for the commander, the under his little protection there. It's like a little Kevlar sheet thing that goes under it. That's a nice touch. And our log, which I'm happy with their logs. They look like actual logs. So, and so everything looks okay here. Then we have our glass, which are pieces here for the commander protection and whatnot. Our headlights and everything. And this would be for that sight, like specifically for that sight on there. And our photo edge. Yeah, see, this says T-72B2. So it's just a crossover sheet for all the grilling and that. There's nothing wrong with that. It looks alright. And you have to pay attention to this particular grill here, this set of grills. The one on the bottom, the one that's closest to the outside of the vehicle, it's actually smaller than the other two. The other two are actually larger. So that's something you really have to pay attention to. I mean, nobody's going to notice if they were inspecting your model. Nobody's ever going to notice, but still that's something you should pay attention to. And we got poly caps for our wheels. And we have the guides, the individual, like the guides. And they're not bad. You can see they're pretty highly detailed. Like they look like they're actually bolted on there. And then we have our tracks here. Now, unlike the other kits, the guides, they don't clip in. They just glue on top. You can see them here. And our end caps here, which will be all plastic. You can see on the other side they're quite detailed. Never had a problem with their tracks. They're always pretty decent. And then we will look at, there's just a couple other small things that we have in here. There's a few things. So we got more photo etch. These are the pieces that have to be bent for the fenders. I said I may do a video on these in the future. The technique I use is pretty much like perfect for bending these. They look worse than they are. And then we have our tubing and copper wire, unfortunately, but that's how Trumpeter does theirs. I wish they would use like the proper, I'm not sure if it's cotton or whatever, but like a string would be much better. Like a high quality one, not one that frays. So we get those, and then we have our tiny little decal sheet here. I'll open it and have a look at it. If it gives us any more information. Yeah, so it's saying it's that year that World of Tanks sponsored the tank biathlon, and it's tank biathlon markings. It's not Army Forum markings, which is kind of interesting. I'm not sure what. This is Army Games markings here, so it's pretty interesting. I don't know if it's just a demonstration vehicle. For some reason, it was a demonstration and it didn't actually run in the race. So I'm not sure, but the options they're giving you are for pretty much just a production run vehicle, and then the various colors for the Army game, the Army Games. So this is the kit here, and I mean, it looks excellent. And like I said, Trumpeter does every variation, and if you want the most advanced, this might not be the current like up-to-date production vehicle that's coming off the assembly line right now, but this has got to be the most advanced B3M, where it has the barrel with the reflector on it, like the T90s use. I'm not sure if it's the exact same barrel, but it's got the advanced barrel, and then it's got, again, the Hunter Killer sight on it, which is a big upgrade to the T-72 family. So this is the Russian T-72B3M main battle tank by Trumpeter Models. So thank you for watching.